everybody, thanks for joining me. My name's Scotty D, and I make guitars happy. This is a tale of 3 G&L basses, Sting models he mentioned, Leo Fender's first year with G&L, the L2000, 1981. The first one here was finished by Marty Bell, that very nice red sparkle. It's a 5-string. And it's in because it's just not playing very well. The action was a little high, and the relief was just ridiculous. The action was 7/64 on the bass side and 8/64 on the treble side. That's kind of the opposite of what we want to see. Usually want to see, maybe a little more higher action on the bass side, less on the treble. But the relief was 14 thousandths of an inch. The other two that are coming in are going to have way less relief in the neck than that. I'm going to get it down to about 5 thousandths to 6 thousandths. And I'm going to, at the end of this, get the action down to about 6 or 5/64. First thing I want to do is try to get this truss rod nut out. It was tightened all the way, and if I tried to force any more tightening into it, I could actually be subject to breaking the truss rod. So got to get this thing out here and do a little treatment to the bottom of it, take a look at it, give it an inspection. And by the looks of it, it's pretty rough on the bottom. We could clean that up quite a bit so that it makes better contact with the washer. We can also clean out the threads on the truss rod itself with some naphtha. Very dirty. Dirty old bass. Hopefully we can get this neck straight. Piece of wood in there. There's a lot of gunk in there. What I'm going to do is take some 2500 grit sandpaper with some machine oil or 3-in-1 oil and clean up the bottom of this truss rod nut. But the inside of it was just filled with metal shavings from the truss rod threads. Right here I'm using 2 magnets with some mineral oil. I thought it was a neat idea. Maybe it would hold the nut flatter to the sandpaper, but it actually just gave me too much resistance. It was like I said, good idea. Tried it once, probably won't do that again. But it's good to use a nice flat surface, whatever you got. Like a string leveler or a ruler or something. The backside of a metal ruler would be nice. Rub it back and forth till you can clean it up. I have these little copper washers. They're probably not the hardest on earth, but they're perfect for going around truss rods. I'll lube one of those up and see if I can get it in between the existing washer and the nut. When these work, they work real good. I can't always get them to work though. This truss rod was pushing up against the bottom of the nut. It didn't work too good. I couldn't get the truss rod nut in there without actually clamping the neck into a back bow. I couldn't get it to thread back on there, so I had to clamp the neck. I didn't film it, but a little dirty. I had to clamp the neck, and just trying to get this. I got the truss rod started in there again without the copper washer. Not sure that I'm going to need the copper washer. Should I try to do it again now that the neck is clamped? Put in that washer? Yeah, let's try it. I don't know if it's going to be successful. I decided not to. It kind of got stuck in there a little bit the last time, and I had to shake it real hard upside down to get it out. And it's not magnetic material, so I don't know what it is. It looks like copper, so I assume it's copper. I guess copper is not metallic or magnetic. I am no scientist, that is for sure. This is going to take a while. I'm looking down the edge of a backbowed neck. Let's see if that backbowed neck springs back into action. Oh, geez, that sprung back a little more than I thought. Sheesh. Still backbowed though, isn't it? See what happens. Turns out, after straightening out that neck, didn't need any more than just this here little mylar shim. Didn't need much of a shim at all. So let's just shim this up. And shouldn't have to worry about it as much as we thought. That should be plenty of a shim for these 6-bolt necks are nice. I really like this. Feels really a lot more sturdy than the 3-bolter that was in here. Feels a lot more sturdy than a 4-bolter. The next victim has arrived. This one's a 1981-82 L2000, made in Fullerton, California. And this one's in for a little bit of a ski jump up here at the highest frets. This one has the micro tilt also, but the 3 bolts. And you can see that it's tilted pretty good. I mean, there's quite a wedge going on there under the neck. I'm going to back that off a little bit. And I tested the relief in the neck and found that there's about 0.010 of an inch or so. So I'm going to try to tighten that truss rod up a little bit. Another very interesting thing that I learned about the G&Ls, the early G&Ls, is that they had this headstock shape. Later on they would have a little protrusion right here, or protuberance of some kind. The story goes, and I don't know if it's urban legend or anything, but Fender sued G&L because of this. And that's why they changed the design. But anyways, I never knew, or I've forgotten, that this was the case. And I've owned a G&L bassist from the 80s, and mine definitely had that. All of the G&Ls you'll notice have this little dowel hole. That's some kind of indexing pin that they use when they're shaping the necks. They use little jigs and things to shape them and route them. And after they're all done, they plug that hole. Well, I guess we'll start with the truss rod and the micro tilt, and then we'll go through and we'll do a little under the string leveling with my new leveling file. This is the fret bar. You can go under the strings with it. And okay, I just found a high fret. It's not high on the treble side, just on the bass side. And I can stick a feeler gauge under it. There's some dirt under there and stuff. Maybe that dirt's holding it back. But I'm going to try my new tool from the Brown's Guitar Factory. It's a fret setter. And I bet you this one's 1/8 of an inch. Oh yeah. Hey, if you haven't been down to the auto parts store to get one of these sets here, man, this thing has saved me so many times. This has all the metric sizes on this side and all the SAE with a little longer reach on that side. I also have a millimeter set that has a little ball end on it that helps sometimes. But both of those I got them both at the auto parts store. Oh, we got a broken nut. Oh baby, we got a broken nut. Oh baby, it's a broken nut. Oh man. When I'm tightening a bass neck truss rod, I like to push down on the head. Kind of flex flex the neck into a back bow. Kind of help it out, I guess. I'm going to glue this nut back together just so I can work on the darn thing. I love the Loctite gel control super glue. Just hold the two pieces together for a couple seconds and okay, this veneer is white ash. White ash. What'd you call me? White ash, white ash. All right. Well, I guess while my nut cures, I'll do some of this understring leveling. This is 220 grit. And according to Mike McConville, you want to go obliquely across here. You don't want to carve a big rut in your fretboard. Always obliquely. No, I'm feeling pretty adventurous today. This is 120 grit sandpaper. Evan says that he always uses 220 grit, but I've got a lot of fret to overcome here. These come in rolls. They already have adhesive on the back side of it, so all I gotta do is trim it with an X-Acto blade and I'm ready to go. I'll do 120 until I get down to 30 thousandths. Then I'll switch back over to the 220. Man, I got down to 30 thousandths of an inch, man, and that was in no time at all. Oh man, we're really liking the 120 grit. Well, I cannot stand this fret tool for pulling frets. It's supposed to be extra special, but I don't think it works as good as the old one. The old blue handled one is the best. But what it really works good for is trimming the veneer off the bottom of a nut or a saddle. If you're shimming your saddles and nuts, it really works nice. Makes a very precision cut. Doesn't work at all for pulling frets, but we found another use for it. StuMac's so great. If you complained about a product like this, it sucks for pulling frets. I mean, you don't have to leave a bad review or nothing, but you can contact customer service and tell them you don't like it, and they'll just tell you most of the time they've told me to keep it. Maybe you'll find another use for it. Here's a little something else I decided I like doing lately. Instead of using a paintbrush like I used to put glue in the slot, I like using this little awl. Drop in the glue, spread it around. See, with the paintbrush you have to clean it off or throw it out. Sometimes you get glue stuck in there and it doesn't want to clean up well. So what I do, swish that around, take a little bit of water, clean off my tool, and we seat the nut. So the nut is a little taller than it used to be. but I've taken some of the relief out of the neck. So I don't want to start filing these nut slots down just yet, but I might lower the strings a little bit after I see how we are. So once again, did a little work to the bottom of this. Little drop of oil, 250 grit, I'm sorry, 2500 grit sandpaper. Clean off the bottom of that. Truss rod nut. There's all the dirt that came off there, all the little metal shavings. And you drop it in a little naphtha, clean off the threads a little bit. And get a Q-tip in there. Anyways, then I'll lube it up with the Vaseline and tighten her back down. Well, I didn't quite overcome those last couple frets. I can still get a 4/1000 of an inch feeler gauge in, starting at the third to last fret. I can't get a 5 thou in there. There's the 5 thou. But 4 thous does go in, and I'm still getting a little buzzing on some of the strings. Some of the frets are buzzing. Yeah, 4,000 goes through on both sides. It's pretty consistent. The last 2 or 3 frets are still high. So I'm going to take the neck off, look at that micro tilt. November 30th, 1981. And the micro tilt. There's the micro tilt screw right there, this one. It's above this surface of the wood, 52 thousandths of an inch. Okay. 52, that's 0.052. That is about an E string on an acoustic guitar. So maybe I have a shim that's about that thickness that I can put in this pocket, and I can lower the micro tilt all the way so that it's not engaged whatsoever. That's usually the best bet. I was talking to Evan Gluck about this thing yesterday. Man, he is a bass guru. I already mentioned him, but he said, if you can, just get rid of that micro tilt thing, man. And I know that from past experience. That is a great advice. There's my tapered shim. Oh, I had to put my little legacy in there. Alright, let's see how that does. We'll put that neck back on. Maybe I'll put some double-sided tape. It's not a perfect fit. It's a little loose. But it's better than a micro tilt. Next, I'm pulling the frets. I just couldn't overcome the ski jump. We're going to have to take some wood off the top of the fretboard. There's going to be a little rosewood dust. Not for the faint of heart. We'll reuse these old frets. We'll clean them up and reuse them. So I'll label them and put them aside. We'll get a little solder on this last one to warm it up, minimize the tear out. Next, we sand the fretboard with a small leveling block. A little backy forthy, trying to take off about 0.5 millimeter, maybe a whole millimeter. A little fall away. Vacuum that dust up. A little fall away is a good thing. We'll put a little chamfer on the top edge of each fret slot. That'll help the frets seat perfectly up against the fretboard. Use my little dead blow hammer. get the end started. Then we'll drive it home. Drive it on home. I like to clamp them down just for an hour or so. A couple bar clamps. I put a piece of sheet metal in between the radius block and the fret so I don't dent the bottom of the caul. Finish it off with my diamond file. Of course, I still have to do the crowning. I still have to crown and polish them, but they're very level. Fresh in is the next G&L. This one's also a 1981, maybe early 82 L2000 bass. And this one's really unique because it has a mahogany body. The one I had was a 89 and it had the same sunburst, but it had a hard rock maple body. The damn thing weighed 12 pounds. This one probably only weighs about 9 pounds. And it's in for a little bit of what the customer called schmeg, which is just basically dead body cells all over here. We're going to try to clean it up, polish it up, and make it look nice again. It also features that original headstock design. Does not have the little point that most G&Ls that you've seen have. This one was only 621 guitars younger than the previous one, the middle bass of this video, the yellow one that needed all the fretwork. So they're both really old and actually really good shape now. I'm going to take this thing apart and see if we can't clean it up. He said this one was set up perfectly. He loves the way it plays and he didn't want me to change anything. It has 5/64 action on all 4 of the strings. It's also set up with 45 through 100 thousandths of an inch strings. And let's check the relief. Got it capoed at the first fret. And this is a 2/1000th of an inch feeler gauge. And it barely goes under. Pretty much a dead flat neck, which is kind of weird for a bass to have, but he said he didn't mind a little string rattle, and by the looks of this, it's going to be quite a bit of string rattle if you hit the string too hard. So if you play with a light temperament, you can get away with this kind of relief on the bass. There's the worst spot right here. I'm going to try a little Murphy's oil soap. Might have to let it soak in for a bit. Or it might not do anything at all. How about we try some Goo Gone? Had to find me a scraper that won't hurt the finish. Found this pick. Yep, that's Doug Proper's pick, the guitar specialist in Bedford Hills, New York. See if we can scrape away some of that goo. Not really. It's almost like scratched from fingernails or something. Isn't that weird? Alright, we're going to have to get out the more powerful chemicals. I was listening to Pandora Radio and Welcome to My Nightmare came on. I thought, how appropriate. As soon as I flip this over, I'm looking at all these wires. Anyways, I'm going to desolder the pickups, pull those out of the guitar. I'm going to leave the output jack down in the cavity and tape it off. Alright, I got it all drop filled and wet sanded. There were some dents on this side that I worked on also. And there's one spot that's worn through. Still a little low spot right there, but I'm going to take it easy on that spot because you can see there's a little bit of the amber clear coat that's already been sanded through. Just that little spot right there. I'm going to touch that up before I spray. You can see it's a little lighter than the surrounding. A little lighter shade. Watch how I touch that up here. I thought I would use my Salem Maple Pro Mark pen for this. And I already knew Salem Maple is kind of a amber color, so I put a little bit on this plexi or mylar and held it up. And I think that's what I'm shooting for. So I'm just gonna there's a brand new pen, so it's laying it down too heavy. Darn it. This might be a little too wet. Okay, they have the same color, but in this smaller pen, I'm going to try that. Okay, this one I did the flash coat a few days ago, and I noticed as soon as I sprayed it on, I could see that it started to fisheye. If you've never seen fisheye before, here you go. You'll see every now and then you'll see a little dent. And if you look really close, it's kind of like more like millions of little dents all over the place. Some are small and some are bigger. Not too many of them over here. But I don't think that those fisheyes are going to buff out. They may. What I'll do is I'll give it a try. I'll put it up on the buffer in a few days and I'll see if those come out. Or if there's only one or two, we can live with them. Otherwise, we got to go back to the drawing board, start sanding, and start spraying again. There is a product called Fisheye Flow Out if you want to. I had it in my flash coat too, but this old lacquer was contaminated with either wax or silicone, they say, is a contaminant that gets in certain polishes people use to try to clean the lacquer. And who knows. Whatever it was, it contaminated it where the lacquer didn't want to flow out perfectly. It went around these little spots, and it wouldn't flow into those little lower spots. So that's why the product I put in there, I put like 5 drops in every 8 ounces of flash coat. It's called Fisheye Flow Out, and you can buy it from Stuart McDonald. I already had it in there, but it didn't work. So maybe we'll go back to the drawing board. I'll buff it out and we'll see what it looks like. It's the after polishing party. Woohoo! I'll spare you all the boring details about resoldering all the electronics, and we'll give her a sound demo here in a sec.